As to the rest of the news, states across the nation are desperately looking to bring new industries in that will create jobs. Of course, one industry that has enormous potential to create jobs is green energy. But considering Republicans in Congress are hell-bent on austerity and beholden to the interests of big oil, then investment in green jobs is pretty hopeless. Instead, the hot new industry for jobs in the future might be domestic drones. That's right, drones for jobs. Still want the jobs? More than a dozen states are scrambling right now to get approval from the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, to run one of 6 drone test sites around the country in hopes that the burgeoning drone industry might bring new jobs with it. These test sites were mandated by Congress this year to prove how easily and safely domestic drones can be integrated into the U.S. airspace. States like Florida, Ohio, and Colorado are all trying to get into the domestic drone game. But what are the consequences of this? Should American citizens be concerned about the proliferation of domestic drones in our skies? Jeff Morley joins me now. He is a staff writer at Salon and the author of the forthcoming book, Snowstorm in August, Washington City, Francis Scott Key, and the Forgotten Race Riot of 1835. Jeff, welcome.
Hi, Tom.
I am looking forward to your book. But it's not about drones, so let's talk about that right now. To begin with, what has led to this domestic drone industry, and why should we be concerned about it?
Well, the Congress passed a bill earlier this year ordering the FAA to integrate unmanned aviation into the domestic airspace. Until this year, the FAA was basically focused on manned aviation, and really unmanned aviation was an exceptional case. Congress has reversed that priority, saying you have to make a priority for unmanned aviation. So there's a big push behind it. There's a big industry behind it on Capitol Hill, and that's how it came to be. The danger right now is that we really don't have any legal framework for what these unmanned vehicles can do in terms of surveillance, in terms of intelligence collection. So the industry is a little bit ahead of the law right now, and that's why we should be concerned.
Is there any concern that we may have drones that are not just spying on us, but are actually armed, like the ones that we run in Pakistan, for example?
There is a capacity to arm drones. I've talked to a bunch of police departments around the country that have obtained permission to fly drones, and they uniformly say they're not interested in using these for surveillance or for armed use. But
what would they use them for?
That capacity is there. What they're looking for is situational awareness, which is a hostage situation, looking down at a fire, for example.
The kind of things they use helicopters for now.
Right, and also for search and rescue. And I don't think anybody would have a problem with drones being used for those purposes.
Yeah.
But the fact that this is a very powerful revolutionary technology, is going to be able to do a lot of things that have not been possible before, that's the cause for concern. Think of it this way. There's about close to 19,000 police departments and public safety agencies in the United States. Right now, only about 300 of those have an aerial capacity, usually helicopters.
Right.
Okay? Those helicopters cost $500, $600 an hour to operate. With drones, you can do that for $5 or $10 an hour. So a lot more public safety agencies are going to be able to purchase an aerial capacity. What are they going to do with it? That's the question, and that we don't really have the answers yet.
This is sort of meta in a way, isn't it, to the hyper-militarization of America's police forces, all this surplus military equipment?
It's a direct consequence. This is a technology that was developed in the war zones overseas, and now former military officials who are experienced using the technology over there, bringing it back to the domestic market to market it here. And I think that's another reason for cause for concern. This is a technology that comes out of a military background. To fear its military uses domestically is not irrational.
Has the Posse Comitatus Act been restored, or is it still gone?
It's still in effect, yeah.
It's still in effect, so
yes.
It's been brought back since it was gone for a year or two.
Yeah.
Okay. So that says that the military shall never turn their guns on American civilians. The police, though, are not considered part of the military.
No, and so these drones, if they were big enough, could be used for. There's one drone manufacturer that offers the capacity to load a shotgun with rubber bullets,
or a tear gas container,
or a grenade launcher, which can be used to project tear gas canisters. So people are clearly contemplating it. People in law enforcement are clearly contemplating it. I think law enforcement would do well, actually, to renounce the weaponization of it, to kind of to satisfy public fears and to make people understand that this is not a technology that they need to fear, and that it will be used for the positive things like search and rescue that it can be used for.
Yeah. How powerful is the drone lobby, and what are the chances of that happening?
The drone lobby is very powerful. There's an unmanned vehicle caucus in the Congress which has 53 members from both parties, concentrated in California and Texas, where the aerospace industry is, but not only there. As I said in my article for Salon, there's a budding drone industry around the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. So people there are trying to use drones as an engine of economic development. Florida is seeking to do the same thing, Colorado, amazing. Arizona.
Amazing. Jeff, thank you very much for your great reporting.
Thank you.
And for coming and sharing with us tonight. Appreciate it. Right now, the Canadian government probably wishes it had some drones, if it doesn't already. That's because what started as a student protest in Quebec has now turned into a mass movement all across Canada. On Wednesday,